Hello, friends. I'm Larry with Ride Sun Ride. I'm at the Salem Roadster Show with Doug Nelson. Doug, it's nice to see you.
Nice to see you.
And even as nice to see you is it's nice to see your beautiful Alfa Romeo. It's tell me the year and give me some of the specs on that car.
It's a 1933 Alfa Romeo. It's an 8C 2300. That means 8 cylinders, straight 8. The motor size is 2300.
What kind of horsepower was that putting out?
Oh, about 190.
190 horsepower back then.
Yeah.
How did they get that kind of horsepower out of an engine back at that time?
Victor Jano was the designer, and he was a genius, and he developed the engine, and it was really great.
Did it have like some kind of special supercharging kind of? Did they have anything like that early on, or?
It was supercharged, yes.
So it took the intake and moved that around. It got that kind of horsepower.
Right.
Now, back in the day, if that car was first of all, this is a very rare car.
That's right.
How many of these cars were made?
About 15 were made originally out of 188 total production over the period of 3 to 4 years.
And I think we established that it's kind of common for people now that have the version that's not yours. They're actually trying to make their versions more like yours. Is that?
Well, they've cut down the sedans or whatever to make it, but they made 188 total.
Who was the famous race car driver of that era? Because he drove these kind of cars in the races.
That's Tazio Nuvolari.
And he was the name back then.
The name.
Yeah,
right.
So that, I mean, to have a car that you knew was the most famous car in the world when it was driving.
That's right.
That's pretty neat. I like that you have left the car so original, and that's the plan ongoing with this car, isn't it? Is to not necessarily repaint and go for a restoration.
No, just leave it the way it is. It's a lot more fun.
I did like when we lifted the hood. I was expecting that the exhaust side was going to look nice, and I liked how it looked. But I was surprised when you lifted the other side and we saw all the grooved stuff that was done on the intake side that looked like it was just made to be artistic. But as you said, that this was how they did the cooling part of it.
Well, it's air cooled. I mean, that way. The car doesn't have a fan, so running at 100 miles an hour, for instance, the air coming through will cool the car.
Mm-hmm. One of the first questions I had for you was I was confused in seeing the Alfa Romeo logo on the front and then seeing the Ferrari logo on it. And I was trying to figure out, is this thing a Ferrari? Is it an Alfa Romeo? What's the story with that?
The story is that Ferrari was the race car champion, or in charge of the racing division of Alfa Romeo during the 1933 period. So his badge was on the car. And then he didn't build his own cars until 1947.
So you got a Ferrari before there was a Ferrari.
Well, you do. Victor Jano was the designer and was way ahead of his time.
This car originally, now you've had the car how many years?
4 years
About 4 years. Mm-hmm. And the car at some point had to come from Europe somewhere to the United States. Do you know where it came from?
Well, it came from Argentina. It was imported by Adolf Schwemm Cruz. In 1948, he bought it in Europe, raced it a couple of times, and then brought it to Argentina, where he raced it several times, and it was given to Argentina, and then fell into disrepair and abandoned, and ended up in a junkyard. And then later, Ernesto Dillon found it and put it together and then sold it to America. Excuse me, in the 1970s. And so that's how it got to America.
It's just, and I know that you have other cars, but it has to be amazing to have something like this in your collection now with that kind of history and just finding it. And the wife, was she supportive in all this? Because this is you're either in with you or you're battling as you go. How is she for supporting this?
There's no battle. She's very supportive of my cars.
That's great to hear. And it's been a common thing. We've been asking that in the show, especially this weekend. We've been asking how spouses, if there's any kind of issues there. And it has been nice to hear that there's been really good support so far. So, well, we sure appreciate you taking the time with us and talking about the car and being able to show people something that's cool, rare, and first time shown in so many years. So thank you so much for the time, Doug.
Thank you.
We'll see you guys next time.